Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. And as you can see here on the screen, today we're going to deal with how Babylon the Great, all right, which is America, all right, the code name of America in the Holy Scriptures, is ultimately the rebirth of the Roman Empire, okay? And it's ironic that, when the Messiah was born, the Romans were ruling, okay? And when he returns, the revival of that Roman Empire will be in rulership as well. As a matter of fact, when you get Revelation, the first chapter, in the 7th verse, what does it say? Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. Even all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Now, just to get the precept, it's a few of them, all right? Here in Psalms 22:16, David, okay, is speaking in spirit of what happened to Yahweh Shai. It says, for dogs have compassed me, and the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. When did that happen to David? That's speaking of a future prophecy. And then when you go into the Gospels, in the book of, let's see here, it should be John 19:34, but one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. Okay, so when Yahweh Shah returns, the same system that was in place, all right, when he ascended, he conquered death and ascended back into the heavens, that's going to be the same power structure that's in place when he returns, which is why when you get Isaiah the 63rd chapter, it says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Because when Yahweh Shah returns, okay, he's going to return to an Edomite ruled power structure, which will be the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. Okay, so going back, okay, to this post, which is off of an Instagram page, it says Washington DC's, all right, Washington DC's original name was Rome. Okay, Rome, Maryland, and a branch of the Potomac River was called the Tiber River, which was named after the Tiber River in Rome. Okay, as the scriptures say, that which is then is now. Let's get that. Okay, because the scriptures are very, very, this is a very, very spiritual book. Okay, not only are people reincarnated, so are empires, and the final empire, known as Babylon the Great, will be the mother of all harlots, meaning all of those ancient ways are back and speaking through what? The image of the beast, okay, which is ultimately fulfilled in America, the EU, and NATO. All right, and America is that Roman Empire back, you see. But as we're going to show you, Rome had vassal states, which that's going to be synonymous with the EU. So this is Ecclesiastes 1:9. It says, the thing that had been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. All right, even as you read this post, it says, like Rome, Washington DC has 7 hills whose names are Capitol Hill. Now it says Capitol, but the original name, going back to actual Rome, was what? The Capitoline building. Okay, you can look that up, which if you look at the architect, it's the same architect of today's, all right, buildings and courthouses and, Senate and all of that garbage that Esau deals with, which also you can take it back to what? Petra will show you that. So when you look up Capitoline Hill in Rome, today we have the Capitol Hill in Babylon the Great, this modern day Rome. You see? And the ironic thing is, in January 6th of 2021, there was a raid. The so-called Trumpsters raided the Capitol Hill. But don't you know, if you go into history, that happened in Rome as well? So the thing that has been is that which is now. Okay? And we have found out Esau Edom. All right, I did this video already, and what happened? Okay, a spirit jumped on my computer for it not to be loaded, but I'm going to do it again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So when you go to Petra, okay, you're going to notice it's the same layout for the buildings. Okay, which will show you why that's important. It's going to remind you of the same architect you see here in America and that you saw in ancient Rome. See that? Okay, that's Petra. Okay, now Petra is synonymous with who? Okay, Petra was the site of the ancient Edomites. So see, Esau has been found out, all right, through the prophets. How are the hidden things of Esau sought out? Because they hide under these different terms and names, all right, to take off, okay, what? The true understanding of who they really are, right? So going back here, you can look all of that history up on your own, okay? Washington, D.C.'s original name was Rome, Maryland, and a branch of the Potomac River was called the Tiber River, which was named after the Tiber River in Rome. Like Rome, Washington, D.C. has 7 hills, whose names are the Capitol Hill, Meridian Hill, Floral Hills, Forest Hills, Hillbrook, Hillcrest, and Knox Hill. Okay, which takes us ultimately into prophecy. Okay, because the ancient Roman Empire, okay, is what rules today's known world. So we're going to start here in Revelation, the 13th chapter, and we'll start at the first verse. It says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast." Okay, this beast represents what? A kingdom, a rulership. Okay, as we go to Daniel, the 7th chapter, there's 4 beasts. Okay, and after Solomon's kingdom rent, all right, the northern and southern kingdoms would undergo captivities. Okay, and this beast, as we're going to show you, started with the Greeks, speaking of the Edomite power structure, all right, which is rebirth into the earth through the Renaissance period, which has led to Babylon the Great, the NATO, and the EU. So it says, "And I stood up on the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea." The sea is the people, according to Revelation, the 17th chapter, having 7 heads and 10 horns. We know the 7 heads is the Greeks, the Romans, Germania Major, Germania Minor, okay, the French, the Spanish, and the British. And as it says in Revelation, the 17th chapter, the 8th is of the 7, okay, which is Babylon the Great, which started as the 13 colonies. Okay, the 10 crowns or the 10 horns are the vassal states. All right, the Goths, the Vandals, the Sueves, the Visigoths, and so forth. Which, real quick, let's look up what is a vassal. Okay, what is a vassal? Because you'll hear us use that term. All right, but it's good to understand these things. All right. A vassal state is any state that has a mutual obligation to a superior state. So right now, the superior is Babylon the Great. All right, but then you have the EU, which are vassals. They work in the interest of Babylon the Great or Rome. However, they have their own powers. And right now, those vassal states, all right, are mixed. They have mixed emotions about the superior, which is this modern day Rome, Babylon, the Great America. So what made Rome powerful is that ultimately its idea, okay, and its rulership, all right, was intact even if you weren't actually in Rome. You can go to these various different parts of the world where Rome had conquered in the known world of that time, okay, and Rome still ruled, okay? So that's what a vassal state is, and that's what the 10 horns represent, which makes it a beast system, right? And it says, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. Okay, and these 10 crowns are back today through what? The EU. Okay, which we always show you when you look up real quick. Let's just do this. EU map. Okay, when you look up a European Union map, see if we can get a quick one real quick. European Union map. Let me just see. Okay, there we go. This is better. So if you look at a European Union map, okay, it's in the direct, pretty much same territory as the ancient Roman Empire map. Okay, showing you that Rome, that system is back today through the system that's in power, and that's what we're going to get into. Okay, then you look up Roman Empire territory map. Okay, and you're going to notice it's the same region. Okay, now you had the Western Roman Empire, okay, right here. And you have more of the Eastern Roman Empire. This is the Western Roman Empire, and it's pretty much, when you look at it, okay, this is the EU being born back into the earth. And we'll get into that, all right, which are the 10 horns, which it has expanded because they have what? A bigger blessing, all right, more room to play with as it's world domination. And upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So the way he will rule would be what? Blasphemy against the Most Highest Son and the chosen people. Because remember, going back to the womb of Rebecca, there was a war between these two seeds. And in the garden, it was promised that there would be enmity between the seed of the serpent, which is fulfilled in the Edomites, and the seed of the woman, which the woman is the nation of Israel symbolically. And there's been constant war and friction between us. Even when David, okay, subdued the heathen, the Edomites were one of those nations, and they uprooted from under David. So it would make sense that when they rule, when the Edomites rule, they're going to rule with anti-Messiah behavior, the spirit of Satan, blasphemy against the Most High, his name, his son, the chosen people, and the angels. Everything has been blasphemed under this man's rulership. Okay, and it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Now, why does it say the beast that I saw was like unto a leopard? Because when you get Daniel, the 7th chapter, all right, as it's giving you the major 4 beasts that would rule and that we would be in captivity to, okay, when you go to the 3rd beast, it's a leopard. Daniel 7:6, and I beheld, lo, another like a leopard, which this is the Greeks, the Greek Empire, which in the Holy Scriptures that we receive, both Old, New, and New Testament, along with the Apocrypha, the history of the Israelites in these captivities is recorded. So for anyone to say that the New Testament is false, where is the record of the Jews as they were in that Roman Empire, which is the 4th beast? That's what we're going to get into. Where is it at? Anyway, nothing was written. Daniel 7:6, and and after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon its backs 4 wings of a fowl, and that's the 4 generals that came into rulership after Alexander died. His 4 generals were Lysimaeus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucid. And out of Seleucid came eventually this dude Antiochus, which you can read that history in 1st and 2nd Maccabees of the Israelites in the Greek Empire. This was the beginning of Esau's rulership and beast system on earth. It started with the Greeks, Alexander the Greek, right? So after the Greeks came who? Okay, the Romans. Now let's really quick go back to Revelation, the 13th chapter. In the 2nd verse, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, because it started with the Greeks. That's why they tell you, all right, and that they're speaking subconsciously to mess with your mind. Civilization started with the Greeks. No, Edomite power structure started with the Greeks. Okay, there was civilizations going all the way back, all right, to the Genesis, the 1st and 2nd chapters, as man was created, and Adam was the first man to be given the order of the Most High. So these devils, they try to tell you that because what they're saying is, all right, their way is the way. All right, rape, robbery, murder, pedophilia, wickedness, lewdness, anti-Messiah behavior. Okay. So the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. It started with the Greeks. Okay. The Greco-Roman Empire. They were Edomites. Okay. And the proof that they're Edomites, let's real quick get 1st Maccabees, the 4th chapter, because we have a holy day called Hanukkah, where after the Greeks were attacking us, the Lord delivered us from them. All right, but the beauty of it is right here. It says in verse 61, and they set there a garrison to keep it and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. So the Greeks who were attacking us at this time, all right, are Edomites. Idumea is the Greek way of saying what? Edom. And they're hurt that they've been found out. Okay. So going back to Revelation, the 13th chapter. Okay. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear. Now the bear represents and is symbolic of Russia, who in prophecy, they're going to be the nation at the forefront of being the end of the beast system. Okay. Because a brother asked, how is the bear speaking of Russia when I was talking about Rome? Okay, that Greco-Roman system. Well, the Roman system, when it came into power, it only died, all right, in spirit. It was rebirth though. Okay, so as we go into that 4th beast, there's a little horn that issued forth in Daniel the 7th chapter that we'll go into, which is ultimately starting with the Renaissance period leading to America. So the end of this whole beast system is going to start with Russia. Okay, that's why when you go into news, you see Russia constantly being brought up as the last war. Okay, they know, all right, and it's being said, and as you can see, Russia is constantly being mentioned. Even right now, the friction with Russia and NATO, which of course America is a part of NATO. NATO was created to combat the USSR, Soviet Union, which is being rebirthed. The Russia is getting back into that Soviet spirit. Okay, there's constant friction between the U.S. and Russia. But what is this article saying? The last war. Now, Revelation 20. And we're going to go back to this, but let's just jump to this part. We're going to go back and start at 1 later on in the lesson, Lord willing. Okay? You devils can't stop this word. Revelation 20 and 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, okay, after the dark ages, we have what is known as the Renaissance, which is the rebirth of Rome. We'll show you that. Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and we'll make sense of that in just a minute. All right, because this ain't talking about the spiritual demon Satan. We'll show you that there's a nation of people who do the bidding of Satan. That's the Edomites. And they've been found out. They've hidden under these different terms and fake nationalities long enough where in the latter days they will be exposed for who they are. So Satan will be loosed out of his prison, okay, the dark ages, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. But it immediately mentions Gog and Magog, which is Russia, okay, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. So Gog and Magog, Russia, okay, are going to be at the forefront. They're going to be the main nation used by the Most High to strike Babylon the Great and eventually lead to the end of this beast system. All right. And Daniel, the 2nd chapter, goes into that as well, which, Lord willing, if the Spirit permits, we'll get that. Okay. And Putin, all right, is being used right now to push different nations to have an evil eye towards America. Vladimir Putin slams the monstrous West for teaching children they can change their gender, saying it's close to a crime against humanity, and it is. Putin ain't saying nothing wrong. It is a crime against humanity to teach a boy they can be a girl and a girl they can be a boy. Russian leader launched an attack on LGBT attitudes in the West. All right. He said children are pushed to believe they can have a choice of their gender. Putin has faced fierce criticism for banning gay propaganda in Russia. So Russia is being used to push an evil eye towards the West. And eventually it's going to lead to war. Now, when you go to Revelation, the 13th chapter, okay, we'll get that out of here. Revelation, the 13th chapter, it says the feet, which are the end of the beast system, the feet are the end, all right, of an image, all right, the end of a body. The last leg of heathen rulership will be through Esau, Edom, and it will be through this system. That's why it's likened to the feet. It says, and his feet were like of a bear. So we're going to look up this term bear, right? We're going to look up this term bear. Arctos, it says bear. When you go to the root word, probably from the root word archeho, to be possessed of unfailing strength. And right now we're living in a time where Russia is being brought back into that old Soviet state, which the Soviet was responsible for NATO being created. NATO was created to combat the USSR, which eventually they got weak. And right now, America and Russia think they're dealing with that weakened Russia that, you know, in the, early 90s, they became weakened and disbanded. But as you read Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, the Lord said he's going to put hooks into the jaws of this bear, pretty much, which hooks were used to tame a wild beast. So the Lord is going to put a cold, all right, strong spirit. All right, it says to defend. The bear says to defend, ward off. Right now, when you go into Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, right, Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, Russia, as it's speaking of Gog and Magog, you look up an ancient map, Gog and Magog is where Russia is. Now, the original inhabitants of these lands were Japhetic people. It's just that Esau constantly conquered and took lands and oppressed people in their heritage, remove landmarks. That's what they do. So they would be in control of this landmass in the latter days, which is Russia, that area. All right. And what did the Lord say he would do with them in the latter days? He will put them in a roused up state, which would lead to friction and war. But right here, it says Persia, Ezekiel 38:5, Persia, which is Iran. You see them in Russia in agreement on a lot of things, tied together in particular instances. Ethiopia, okay? And all we have to do, okay, is type in what? Russia, Ethiopian relations, right? Goodness gracious. Relations. Right. Okay, and you can just look it up. So basically, as we're getting ready to read, as that bear we read about in Revelation the 13th chapter would defend, Russia is a guard unto particular nations that wouldn't stand a chance against this beast system. And they're going over there and they're setting up navy bases in countries like Ethiopia. Okay, of course, they have ties in Syria, Libya, right? Which Iran has interest in Syria as well. But Ethiopia and Russia, okay, have a agreement where Russia has set up naval bases over there and has armed Ethiopia with defense systems for war, because World War III is coming. So what did it say? Persia, the Iranians, Ethiopia, okay, the Kushites, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer. Okay, so the USSR spirit, that old Soviet spirit, will be brought back upon Gog and Magog, Russia, the bear, okay, for great work in the latter days. Okay, and all his bands, the house of Togomor and the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared. All right, as you see, Putin he's fulfilling that. Russia's fulfilling that. And prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. This word, a guard unto them. Okay, mashmar. Okay, a place of confinement. Okay, to watch in Russia is a guard in defending particular nations against, all right, in preparing for war. Nations that didn't have super military might are now being guarded by Russia, which goes into what we just read. Okay, this bear in the latter days would be, it would defend, it will ward off. It would be in that bear, because a bear is known as being fierce. So that's a lot of prophecy, but it goes into how this beast system would end. And as we see in Revelation 20, Gog and Magog are going to be a nation that are at the forefront of gathering World War III, which is right around the corner. This is why this article says the last war. All right, because they know if it kicked off between Russia and Babylon, the Great America, so going to be so many nations involved, including Israel, which Israel is prophesied to be blown into smithereens, the actual physical landmass. Okay, and we're going to clean it up. You heathen are going to clean it up. But Russia is just very important in prophecy. So that's why it says in the feet of a bear. Okay, and his mouth, Revelation 13:2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. It started with the Greeks, and his feet were like as to a bear. It's going to end all, starting with Gog and Magog, as well as various different other things. Of course, the return of the Lord, you know, the Israelites waking up. We're speaking Russia into existence to do these things. And his mouth was as the mouth of a lion. His legislation, his moral code, it's fierce, it's draconian. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Now, the dragon in the previous chapter, if you were paying attention, if you're reading the scriptures, Revelation 12:13, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. We know Esau is tied to red. Okay, scarlet colored beast. Scarlet is a derivative of red, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. So this was the Roman Empire. Okay, and how do we know? You say, well, you just making that up. Well, let's prove this is the Roman Empire. Because who ruled Rome? Edomites. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. What tribes of Israel were in Judea at the time that Rome was ruling? Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. and they cast them down, meaning they had them in captivity. Judea was a vassal or a province of the Roman Empire. Okay? So, the stars of heaven, which are Israel, okay, the third part are Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, were ultimately in captivity in Rome, and that's where the Yahushua was born. In that, he wasn't born there, but I'm saying they were in power. He was born in Bethlehem, but Rome was in power when the Messiah was born, right? So, and the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered for to devour her child as soon as it was born. What history does this go to? Real quick. Matthew 2:3, and when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Okay? And what did he want to do? He wanted to put the Messiah to death. What did he say in verse 8? All right. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child. Now, Herod is who? Okay. And Rome was ruling at this time. All right. It's just that you had Edomites going by different names and terms and divided, as they always are. They're divided now. Right. Well, some of them calling themselves Russians, some of themselves calling themselves the chosen people of the Most High, the Jews, some of them calling themselves America, some of them, you know, they proclaim to be white. They're all over the place. So Herodes, which is Herod, is the name of a royal family that flourished among the Jews. And just like today, they're calling themselves the chosen people of the Lord. As Paul said, the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Okay? A royal family that flourished among the Jews in the time of Hamashiach and the apostles. Who was in power when Hamashiach and the apostles were on the scene? The fourth beast, which we're getting ready to go into. Okay? Herod the Great was the son of Antipater the Idumean, the Edomites. So, and there's various things you can look up to link the Romans to the Edomites. It was called Edom Rome in history, but they hide these things. Okay? The Greeks and the Romans were Edomites. Okay? Which that's who's ruling today. Through what? A rebirth. And that's what we're going to get into, the Renaissance. So you can look up that history. All right? Which every time you see Herod in the scriptures, it's not the same one. There's about 4 mentioned in the scriptures. Even Agrippa was of that line, Herod Agrippa, that Paul dealt with, you know, when they put him on trial and all of that. Okay, so this, going back here, okay, this red dragon is likened unto the Roman Empire, man, who was ruling at that time. So going back to Revelation, the 13th chapter, okay, let's read it again. And the beast which I saw, it was like unto a leopard, because it started with the Greeks, and his feet were like unto a bear. We broke that down. And his mouth was the mouth of a lion. His legislation, his draconian measures, fierce, lion-like, all right, way of ruling. Okay. And the dragon, the Roman Empire, is where they got their power. The Greeks were powerful and ruled and swift and conquered, but the Romans, all right, did it on a whole nother fashion. All right, so the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Okay, and that's what the Romans did. They ruled, but eventually the Western Roman Empire fell. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into, the rebirth of the Roman Empire, which this is why this post was made. Washington, D.C.'s original name was Rome. Now, what is Washington? Right? That's the military might and power of America. Right? Esau was blessed with the sword. So, Revelation 13:3 says, and I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. So one of his heads were wounded unto death. That was the fall of the Roman Empire, the Western Roman Empire. Okay, Esau. And what preceded that? The Dark Ages. So we're going to go back to Revelation 20 and 1. And I saw an angel, this angel is speaking of Yahweh, come down from heaven, because everything is given unto his hands. Okay, whether a nation is raised up, whether a nation is taken down, okay, Yahweh is the fulfillment of prophecy. Okay, the Lord has given all things into his hand. So this angel, okay, did what? Having the key to the bottomless pit, and the bottomless pit is Europe. Okay, and let's prove that a land could be likened into a pit. Second Esdras 5:23, and said, O Lord, that bears rule of every wood of the earth, and of all the trees thereof, thou hast chosen thee only one vine. Okay, the Lord has favorites of everything. Now, in spirit, we know that the nations are likened unto trees, and Israel is his chosen vine. Okay, but when you read the scriptures, you see mention of particular trees that the Lord likened unto his favorite, the cedars, okay, and so forth, man. Okay, and the trees are beautiful. They have various purpose. Anyway, and of all the lands of the world, that has chosen thee one pit. So just to say, a lot of people think that this pit is speaking of hell. No. A pit can be a land. And of all the flowers, one lily, the Lord loves the lily. And what is that one pit that the Lord chose as his favorite land? All right, the garden east in Eden. All right, Jerusalem, Israel, where the temple was built, where Adam was to rule out of, where he started to rule out of, you know, where Solomon built the temple, where Melchizedek was king of Salem. Right? So that's that one pit. But as we go here, okay, this angel has the key to the bottomless pit, and he has a great chain in his hand. Okay, because Yahweh, all right, is the one under the Most High Yahweh who ultimately gets things done. Okay, so he can take down, he can raise up. Okay, so what he did was he took down Esau's power structure in the form of Rome. Right? That's what that chain represents. Okay, and we know about the Byzantine Empire. Right? And it says, and laid hold on the dragon, Esau, Edom, the Roman Empire, that old serpent, because that's what he rules with, blasphemy. Okay, the spirit of the serpent is in Esau, which is the devil and Satan. And so is this speaking of the spiritual demon Satan? Hell no. Let's get 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. Okay, 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, in the 8th verse, and it says, and then shall that wicked be revealed through the preaching, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, the prophets, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, the chariots, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. So there's a nation that's tied to the working of Satan that will be exposed in the last days. That's why the scriptures say, I have made Esau bare and uncovered his hidden places. Okay, the lies that have forwarded his power structure are now being cast down. But anyway, this is speaking of the Byzantine Empire, which, how long did the Byzantine Empire last? That damn bird just knocked himself up against my window. All these birds always visit me. Anyway, how long was the Byzantine Empire? How long did the Byzantine Empire last? We've always looked this up, but for you newcomers, okay, all right. So let's read this. It says, how long did the Byzantine Empire last? In years, while the Western Roman Empire crumbled and fell by 476, okay, I believe it's AD, the Byzantine one flourished and lasted until the 1453. And what happened in 1453, in the 1400s? That's where you get all that Renaissance art where they covered up the images of the true disciples and they pushed their images, their lies, their mindset. You had the Medici family, which were known for banking. You had the Borgia family, which is where you get the false image that's pushed in this world. All right. Caesar Borgia. Okay, this is when their power structure was rebirthed into the earth. And we're going to show you that. But it says the Byzantine Empire lasted over 1,100 years, roughly. So that 1,100 years is speaking of this 1,000 years that Satan, Esau, Edom, was bound. Okay? He was no longer able to go out and deceive the nations. There was a seal set on him. He couldn't rule. Just like right now, we can't rule. There's a seal set on us. And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. Right? Esau wasn't able to flourish his lies no more. He was put down and Jake was ruling. This is where you get the dark ages, where they tell you for a period of 1,000 years, we don't really know too much about what happened. Nothing worth really mentioning and writing down. But when you go into it, you find out Jake was ruling. And we have the books, we have the history, we have the research to prove it. All right. So-called blacks were the end thing. The Black Madonna. Okay. The disciples and the pictures that were depicted of them were dark skin. Right? So Esau would be shut down for a period of 1,000 years till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. But after that, he shall be loosed a little season. And we are at the end of his little season. And when you jump to verse 7, and if you don't understand how to break down Revelation, the 20th chapter, we have breakdowns on it, because there's a reason you have to jump to verse 7 and not 4, because it's two different 1,000 year periods spoken of. All right. But if you need that breakdown, just say it in the comments. We'll give you the link, or you can look up the two 1,000 year periods in Revelation 20. It should come up. But they hide our videos, so we may have to just send you the direct link. Revelation 20:7. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Okay, Esau would be able to ultimately rebuild. And what would he do? And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. So after that 1,000 years, all right, round about 1,100 years, all right, Satan, Esau, came out of the caves, right? Job tells you how he was a ooga booga, braying and a complete loser. He was looked down upon. He was looked at. When you seen him, you knew to keep him away from your dogs. The Lord had a spirit out there that, look, this man is through, right? And it was understood. And the dark nations were the end thing. So after that 1,000 years, okay, the Renaissance, what is the meaning of Renaissance? A rebirth or revival. Rebirth or revival. So go back to Revelation 13. And I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death. He was taken down. Let's look up the word wounded. Okay, this is the Byzantine Empire, the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Okay. He was wounded, all right, and you had a man by the name of Septimius Severus, which means the cutter of the seven. The sever is to cut. All right, Septimius is it was 7, which was an omen. He was one of the Jakes at that time, generals, okay, who helped to fight against Esau, man. Okay, but wounded. Savazo, to slay, to slaughter, to put to death by violence, mortally wounded. And that's what happened to the Roman Empire, the Western Roman Empire, which was ruled by who? Esau. All right, but what happened? And I saw one of his heads that was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. Let's look up the word healed. Okay, his deadly wound was healed. And they got therapy. Therapio. All right. They got therapy to serve to cure, to heal, to restore to health. What was restored to health at the time of the Renaissance? The Roman way of thought. Okay? The Roman way of thought. Okay? The Renaissance is important. The Rome and the Renaissance. The Renaissance is an important event in European history that stretched from the 14th century, the 1400s, that's where the Borgias came around, in the 7th to the 17th century. It was preceded by the Middle Ages in Europe and eventually led to other major events such as the Age of Enlightenment. What is the Age of Enlightenment? Where Esau, all right, ultimately, after he establishes Bavarian Illuminati in 1776, he basically proclaimed his way as the true light of the earth. Okay, and when you look at the behavior of the people, okay, as a result of his rulership and his so-called enlightenment, it doesn't reflect true light. Okay? It says it is known as a time period of great change and ideas. So the deadly wound being healed, okay, is what? Let's go here. Let's go back. And that's why they're called the Illuminati. What does that mean? The bears of the light. They think that they're the true ones who bring enlightenment through what their left hand means. Anyway, it says it was preceded by the Middle Ages in Europe and eventually led to other major events such as the Age of Enlightenment, Esau's bullshit thought process, theories, Darwinism, all of these things became the common knowledge that people would have to follow, the end thing. See, in that 1,000-year period, Esau wasn't able to forward his BS. Okay, it says in historical terms, the Renaissance is important because it led to a major shift in European thought and worldview. All right, Edomite thought and worldview. The Renaissance is considered to have begun in Italy. All right, that's where Rome was at. All right. It says in each of these city-states, the significant changes for overall Renaissance occurred and unfolded. For example, the most significant changes that emerged as a result of the Renaissance can be seen in European architect, okay, which we showed you, right? The Roman architect is even now in today's world, through your courthouses, your senate houses, Capitol building, which, we showed you that was the same way the Edomites who ruled Petra, that was the same way they had their buildings. So their architect, their art, their literature, their mathematics, their music, their philosophy, okay? It's basically the image of the beast, their politics, their religion, and science. Intellectual thought in these fields flourished during the time frame of the Renaissance and led to many people questioning long-held beliefs about each. So when they came, they ultimately came and their mindset took over the earth. Okay? Which eventually led to the Age of Enlightenment and them dominating, okay, and pushing that ancient Roman way back into the earth. The deadly wound was healed, okay, which is why this post that I posted here says what? Washington, D.C.'s original name was Rome, because that age led all the way up French, Spanish, British, America, the 13 colonies. So Rome is what's ruling today's known world, okay? So all of their philosophies and everything else that you see ruling today, it all goes back to Rome, which is the height of their power. That's why I said the dragon gave them great power and authority, man. Yeah, Renaissance scholars and philosophers could look all of this stuff up. There was a medical Renaissance as well. Their way of healing, it goes back to what? The Greco-Roman god of Asclepius. Okay? So the Bible's on point. See? Revelation 13:3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. All of the world started to say, this is the way. I'm going to walk in this way, wondering after this beast, which would eventually lead to what? America, which is spoken of in Revelation, the 13th chapter, in the 11th verse, which would what? Eventually make you to bow to that image, those ways, those ideologies. And if you don't, you're going to be killed, separated. And then he's going to issue forth a charagma, which is here. But anyway, let's go to Daniel, the 7th chapter. Okay, Daniel, the 7th chapter. Okay, and as a matter of fact, let's read a little bit of this article. Did you know Washington, D.C. was once called Rome? All right, and we just saw it. It says, let's see here. Let's see. Not many people are aware of the fact that before this city got its current name, Washington, D.C., the capital was simply named after that other city on Seven Hills in Rome. Yes, capital that holds our Senate, all right, which the Senate comes from Rome. We'll show you that in the Bible. With the Roman eagle, the eagle. Now, what is the eagle tied to in biblical prophecy? Let's get the book of Obadiah.
But the truth is, Knights of Columbus, Opus Dei, Knights of Malta, Club of Rome, Council of 300, Council of Trent, Council on Foreign Relations, the list goes on. All of these are suborders of the Jesuit order, of the Holy Roman Empire, the rulers of today's Western world, the owners of the United Nations. America is their new world. Rome owns the world. Rome established the new world in which we live today. The New World Order has already been in place since the mid-40s. The NWO is not coming. It's been here for a long time.
Okay. Obadiah, verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, Hitler, they all bore the eagle. All of these Edomite, the Greeks, the Romans, Germanian majors, all of these particular power sources within Esau's beast system and rulership bore the eagle. Okay, the British, America, we know America bears the eagle, the Romans. So though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest amongst the stars, his space program, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Okay, so going back to this article, let's see here. The eagle, yada, yada, yada. What this means in simple terms is that, yes, the Roman Empire did, in fact, fall in 476 AD, okay, going back to the barbarians and such, but that doesn't mean the Roman way completely died in the 5th century takeover, all right? Often when one empire falls, the intelligent new conquering king and empire doesn't throw the old Roman baby out with the bathwater. Okay, or destroy the entire old Roman system in order to painstakingly create a new Anglo-Saxon, which we always show you that term Anglo-Saxon means the angelic sons of Isaac. Okay, those were the Israelites. All right, it says, but they were going under different names as they were mixing, laying with Edomite women, taking over, conquering. Okay, but basically what it's saying is the Roman Empire fell, but that way would eventually be born. Okay, this may come as a shock to people who are not educated on the history of the world or the founding of America, but shock of our ignorant belief system is exactly what happens during the apocalypse. These veils that are being torn down to expose uncomfortable truths in a light may blind those who do not want to see the light. If this is you, you may want to click the back button and so forth. What's really amazing is that this information is easily found. All right. Rome, Maryland was the original name of a community with Prince George's such as, yada, yada, yada. The Rome was the original name. So you can read this. I'll put it in the description box, Lord willing, if I remember. But if not, you can just look it up. Did you know Washington, D.C. was once called Rome? Basically, it's letting you know Rome was rebirthing the earth, starting with the Renaissance that led to America. Okay? You know? And you can find all types of ways that America is linked to Rome. Okay? So Daniel, the 7th chapter, in the 7th verse, after the Greeks, okay, came who? The Romans. It's world history. And like I said, all of these captivities are written down in the Holy Scriptures to show us what will be happening with the chosen seed as they were in this captivity. So to deny the New Testament is to say there is no writings or there was no history of the Jews as they were in that Roman captivity, which is this 4th beast. Daniel 7:7. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, the Roman Empire, and strong exceedingly, their army, their military, and it had great iron teeth. They were blessed with the sword, their military might, and devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue of the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now, how was Rome diverse? Well, the way that they ushered in rulers or emperors, okay, was by what? Let's get it real quick. A Senate. Okay? Which they have the Senate even unto this day. First Maccabees 8:19. Therefore, they went therefore to Rome, which was a very great journey, and came into the Senate, and they spake. Okay, so the Senate goes back to that Greco-Roman system, and particularly the Rome. The Senate, they had their Senate where they governed. Okay, no other beast really ruled like that. The other beasts ruled, a king would pass down the throne to his son, and his, so forth. But when this Edomite came on the scene, he started to rule by these different policies and corruption and, and madness. Okay, so that's why this 4th beast was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. Right? And I considered the horns, and I beheld there came up among them another little horn. So this little horn is mentioned for a reason, because this little horn is the deadly wound being healed, which is the Renaissance period, which is likened unto an age of enlightenment, where the image of Rome is rebirthed into the earth. And it's all going to be solidified through America, which is going to bring the end of this man. Okay? And this is the final captivity for the Israelites. As a matter of fact, to prove that, let's get Lamentations. Lamentations chapter 4:21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup shall also pass through unto thee, and thou shalt be drunken and make thyself naked. Okay, and that's what's happening. The Edomites are being exposed. The man of sin, he who's coming is after the working of Satan, he's being exposed. He's drunken, right? And the cup is captivity. Modern day land of Uz is America. So rejoice, all right? In the fullness of his sufficiency, it said he shall be trying to rejoice, but he's going to be destroyed. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. Right? So the final captivity for us, the Israelites, will be through Esau, which when we're reading about these 4 beasts, the 4th beast is the final captivity. But there will be a little horn that would issue forth from it. All right? Which is started as the 13 colonies right? All the way to what we see today. It says, and I considered the horns, and there came up among them, because what do we know that happened? Okay, the Rome was wounded unto death. But as he's be looking, there came up another little horn. Okay, and that's America, and that can be read about in Revelation the 13th chapter, in the 11th verse. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. They brought back the energy of Rome. Can you see that? He's exercising all the power of the first beast. In the beginning of this vibration started with the deadly wound being healed, which is the rebirth, revival of Rome. The Renaissance period. You see it? So the image of the beast is far more complex than just saying a picture of Caesar Borgia. No, the Edomite way of thought, art, architect, math is in the earth, and it's a very flawed way of life. But it's our final captivity, as we read Daniel the 7th chapter. So Daniel 7 and 8, and I considered the horns in there, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, America, started as 13 colonies, before whom there were the three of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Now we know there was a Revolutionary War, okay, the French, the Spanish, and the British, okay, and then what came out of that? America, the 13 colonies. That's the first, that's the three plucked up. Okay, and it says, and behold, in this horn, Babylon the Great, okay, were the eyes like the eyes of a man, and the mouth speaking great things. Now they have the mindset that they are God. They have the mindset that their way is the true light. That's why it talks about Lucifer, which Lucifer only means bearer of the light, light bearer. The Illuminati, they really believe they're God. As a matter of fact, in Ezekiel the 28th chapter, okay, it talks about how they would think that they're God. But as he's looking at this beast, he's like, you just a man, but here it is, you got eyes like a man. But here it is, you're boasting in all of this science and all of this crap. Like, what is wrong with you? You're exalting yourself above the Most High. Ezekiel 28 and 2, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, symbolic of Esau, thus saith the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, the people are the seas. Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. And that's Esau's mindset. Through his science, he's boasted himself against the Most High, and he's getting ready to try to move in on even taking ownership of his creation, including his special possession, his chosen people, through a digital all, a charagma. See? And the Lord has blessed him on the left-hand side to do miracles, to do all sorts of things, but it's all going to be destroyed. You're not God. You're not the Most High, and you have a God complex, but everything that you forward yourself in, you have to go to the source. You have to go to something that already was. But you've boasted and prided yourself above the Most High, man, through your science, which, wait a minute, when we get 2 Thessalonians 2, when we get 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, there's a word we always look up. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8, as it says, the wicked will be revealed. It says, even him, verse 9, whose coming is after the working of Satan. I mean, he's coming to do Satan's work. His culture, that image of the beast is blasphemy, Satanism. in the form of light, in a way that you should follow to better yourself, a way better than any other culture. All right? A way better than the Most High's laws. Even him who's coming after the working of Satan with all powers and signs and lying wonders. Now, what is the word for lying wonders? A very, 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 familiar word that we know about. Pseudoscience. What is pseudos? Falsehood. Right? Lies. An intentional falsehood, because he know he's lying. But he's Satan. He's the adversary. Okay, that's why when we was reading in Revelation 20, it likened him unto that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, man. He's the adversary of righteousness. Devil means deceiver. Satan means adverse. He's the enemy of what's right. And you can see it through how he rules. Okay? So, pseudos, perverse, impious, deceitful precepts, everything's a lie. All right? And all you have to do is just look up pseudoscience. Okay? Darwinism, the bell curve, all of this stuff that currently rules everybody's mind as the way to go and as enlightenment is really a damn lie. His medicine. You follow that. It's all a lie. It's all to a snare unto your soul. Pseudoscience meaning. A theory, and that's all they do. They these coked up Edomites who are heralded as these great people. They push down your throats in school, come up with all of these, this theory, that theory, all of these theories. They're high off of opioids and coke, raping children, coming up with theories that now rule the whole entire planet Earth in the mindset of people. This nigga has actually created a system of racism based on skin color. That's never been. That is a lie. Usually a nation takes down another nation. He's done it based upon skin color. All right? He's created all manner of lies and BS. All right, as science, because science just means knowledge, to know, right? But he's pushed these things, these theories have become actual, how people dictate what's right and wrong. And it's led to a culture of filth, a theory, methodology, practice that is considered to be without scientific foundation. The true science is of the scriptures. Okay, and ancient scientists knew that understanding of the Bible, they went to the Bible to validate their findings. But as this place has gotten more and more satanic, okay, they're Xing out the Messiah, they're Xing out the scriptures and forcing a new image down your throat, man. All right, so it's not true science. It's all a lie. Okay. And going back to Daniel, the 7th chapter, it's the image of the beast. That's the image of the beast. Daniel, the 7th chapter, going back here, that's that science that he would rule with. That those hard things he's speaking against the Most High, his people, his son. The angels are even blasphemed. So, Daniel 7 and 8, and to prove that this fourth beast, even scholars know that this fourth beast is speaking of Rome. But you ask vocab or a Christian, they don't know this type of stuff because they're not scholars. Daniel 7 or Daniel 2 and 40, Rome, even they know, and the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron. He's rehashing in the 7th chapter, but he's seeing, okay, the end of the image, which he saw the feet and the toes and they were divided. Okay, and Gog and Magog are a big part of how it's going to eventually be destroyed. Right? So anyway, Daniel 7, let's read it again. And 8, and I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, the revival of that Roman system, the fourth beast is revived, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, French, the Spanish, the British, which that all issued forth from the Renaissance. And behold, in this horn, which horns in the scriptures are synonymous with power structures. Let's get Psalm 75 real quick. Okay, let's get Psalms, the 75th chapter and 10. Okay, God of Jacob. See that? Whew. All the horns of the wicked also will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted. And that's what's getting ready to happen. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is getting ready to be translated to a righteous king under Yahushai and the 144 and all of the rest of Israel, starting with the large multitude. Okay, and the image of Yahweh by Shemiah Shai will be implemented on earth. Not the spirit of Satan, the image of Satan. Not deception, the truth of who the nations are. The truth of who you are is suppressed here. And they replace it with black, white, red, yellow. You had this devil Linnaeus, Carl Linnaeus, okay, who came up with this system of black, white, red. And let's see what he looks like. I don't know that Linnaeus. Is it Carl Linnaeus or? Yep. Swedish zoologist. And they look at you niggas as animals. Oh, wow. Yeah, you see him? Yeah, he's responsible. He's one of the people responsible for the system of black, white, the red man, he put that on the Native Americans. The yellow man, he puts that on the Chinese. The brown, he put that on the Hispanics, so-called Hispanics. And natives, he put them red. You black. That's pseudoscience. That is a lie, intentional lie, to cover up who he is and cover up who we are and lie and forward himself. Anyway, it's all a part of the Renaissance, the rebirth of Rome, and they just went hard body. Okay, so in this horn were the eyes like the eyes of a man and a mouth speaking great things. Okay, so this is speaking of Esau's wisdom, the mouth speaking great things, or what, his science. And it's crazy that after this fourth beast, immediately the Most High sets up, all right, he judgment. Okay, the Ancient of Days, which is the Most High God, Yahweh, okay, is going to cast down the thrones of these heathen. And how is he going to do that? Through his only begotten son. That's in this chapter. For you New Testament bashers, the Messiah is even mentioned directly by name in Ezra's, but it calls him the Messiah in Daniel the 9th chapter. But I guess the Jesuits put that in there. And you niggas coming to the page crying, man, you put a curse on Rap the New. I cannot believe this. When all that nigga did was put curses on us. And I don't see no comments saying, man, leave them brothers alone. They fighting for the Lord. All of you niggas was just agreeing with him. But now that the tables is turned and the judgment is on him, now we're the mean ones. So the Lord is going to send judgment through this place because it's the revival of ancient Rome. That's where he's going to return and stop all of it. This is how we know we're at the end of this thing. Let's get Malachi 1. Malachi 1. Goddamn devils. Malachi 1 and 2. I have loved you, saith Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh? Yet I love Jacob, because Jake don't understand. You got to understand the scriptures to understand why the Lord has put us through this hell. Because Jake, like on the movie Boys in the Hood, okay, what did they say? Why, if there is a God, why are we going through all this hell? Well, you got to you got to tap into the sanctuary of the Most High to understand that. So Jake says, wherein has the Lord loved us? Look at this. We constantly in hell. Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob and hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. And that's going to be the fate of Babylon the Great. Isaiah 13 talks about how Babylon is going to be a desolate wilderness where dragons dwell. All right, particular unclean fowls and beast. That's the future of Babylon. But here's the point. Whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, okay, one of his heads was wounded, and we will return and build the desolate places. The deadly wound was healed. Let's look up this word return. Okay. But we will return. Okay, even Esau comes up to the camp sometimes, and when we say you're going into captivity, we'll be like, well, yeah, but eventually we'll get you back in captivity. No. Shawab, to return, to turn back, to return. Rome has returned. Okay, they've restored Rome. That image of Rome speaks and lives through America. Babylon the Great, the NATO, and the EU. All right. So Edom said, we are impoverished. They were taken down at one point, but we will return and rebuild the desolate places, the Renaissance, baby. Okay. And this also happened at the time when David was ruling in 1 Kings, I believe, 8 and 20. Edom revolted from under David's rulership. Okay. Because David had them in hardcore captivity. Solomon too. But eventually they uprooted, all right, a particular of them uprooted and revolted, okay? But this is ultimately fulfilled in a Renaissance where they have returned and rebuilt the desolate places. The desolate was the Western Roman Empire. Thus saith the Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. And let's tie it all to Babylon the Great, if I may. Okay, they're going to be known as the border of wickedness when it's all said and done. The people whom the Lord hates, according to the Bible. I ain't making it up. What the hell you mad at me for? That's what the Bible said. I'm just reiterating, thus saith the Lord. Isaiah 34 and 5, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Babylon the Great. Okay, this beast system is whom the Lord is going to return through. Okay, so when you read Daniel 7 and 9, and I beheld, and we're going to go back to Isaiah, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool, showing you the Most High, because he's the Ancient of Days, as it says in Job. We can't search out his years. We know Yahushua has a beginning. We can't search out the years of the Most High. How could you wrap your mind around that? He just is. All right? He just exists. Okay? The Ancient of Days, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. He looks like his son. His throne, or his son looks like him. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. And a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands and thousands ministered unto him, the angels, and 10,000 times 10,000s stood before him. And the judgment was set, and the books was opened. Judgment was set, and the books was opened. And what happened when the books were opened? Okay, the seals were loosed through Yahushua, and we received the Holy Spirit, which is leading to where we are now, the end of this man. Right? So as he's looking, then I beheld the voice of the great words which that horn, Babylon the Great, the revival of Rome, the Renaissance, spake. Okay? I beheld even to the beast was slain, because his ass is going to be destroyed, and his body destroyed in giving to the burning flame. Now, when you jump to 13, who's mentioned? And I declared, and I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man. So the Most High is going to be the final judge, but how is he going to do it? All right, the Son of Man came in the clouds of heaven. And we know, according to Revelation 1, he's returning to a place where the Roman soldiers pierced him and came to the Ancient of Days, showing you there are two separate entities, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages and tongues shall serve him, and his dominion was an everlasting dominion. So this fourth beast and the revival of it are the very end of heathen rulership in the setting up of the kingdom of heaven, which is synonymous with 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter. 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Right? And it said that that beast was going to be given to the fire. Okay? But it goes into how the Lord is going to do that through the only begotten Son. Okay? Woo. For the sword, Isaiah 34 and 6, for the sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and the blood of the lambs, the goats, okay, the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra, okay, symbolically modern day American. I believe it was the capital of Edom. Okay, and what's the capital of America? Washington, D.C., right? Which was originally Rome, named Rome, Maryland, nigga. In a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. See that? So as you read down, verse 8, for it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance and the year of the recompenses of the controversy of Zion. So the Lord is going to return to take down a Roman ruled society, a society ruling in the same way Rome would rule. And that's how he's going to destroy that and set up the kingdom. For it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance and the year of the recompenses of the controversy of Zion. Okay? And it shall not be quenched day nor night, the fire that's going to hit this place. The smoke thereof shall go up forever and ever, and from generation to generation it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever. What nation in the Bible is synonymous with this destruction? Babylon the Great. Revelation, the 18th chapter, Isaiah 13, Jeremiah 49, 50, 51. Babylon the Great. Isaiah 47 is going to be destroyed by fire. Rome. Okay? But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it, the owl and the raven shall dwell therein, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion. The Lord's going to destroy this place, man. But read real quick. And the thorn shall come up in her palaces, and nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be an habitation for dragons and courts for owls. What did we just read in Malachi? His all right. Malachi 1 and 4, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and rebuild the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, man. So you've rebuilt the desolate places. In verse 3 it says, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains, his government, and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. So it all ties. You Edomites cannot hide. Okay, the hidden things of Esau have been found out. Okay, we're living in a revival of the Roman Empire, which is America, which prophetically is Babylon the Great. Not only is it Rome reborn, where did Rome get their gods from? Sumeria, Babylon, Assyria. Okay, all of these different empires, Egypt. So you're going to see that this spiritual Rome is called what? The great city Babylon. Anyway, I think that's enough. The point was made. Even in Daniel, the 7th chapter goes a little bit more into that fourth beast. He will speak great words against the Most High and wear out the saints, and we're wore out. Putting diseases, all type of shit out there, change the times and laws. But the judgment is going to sit to take away his dominion and to consume and destroy it. And that will be through what? That fourth beast. But it would fall and be reborn through the Renaissance, which would lead to America. Okay? So it's a lot of history you can look up on your own. Okay? The Age of Enlightenment. This is why he's called Lucifer, the king of Babylon, the wicked. In this chapter, he's called the king of Babylon, the wicked. But as you read down, what does it say? For thou hast said, verse 12, how art thou fallen from heaven? Heaven is your rulership, O Lucifer, son of the morning. He says he's the enlightened one. How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? And how did they weaken the nations? Through their philosophies, their wine. Why do you think China right now is cursing out democracy? See? So this ain't talking about the spiritual demon Satan. Lucifer literally just means the bearer of the light. And they called themselves the Illuminati. That was in 1776, leading to the Age of Enlightenment. Hayalal, light bearer. The true light bearer, the true enlightened ones, the true Illuminati are Yahweh Shai and the 144. Now that'll bug you out, but they don't really have light. It's an illusion of light. Lucifer in light bearing is not necessarily a wicked thing. It's just that Esau in deception, right? The king of Babylon, which is Esau, his light is really wickedness. Their right hand is the right hand of falsehood. So here it is, because what does the scripture say? When you take hold of this truth, what happens to you? Get one more, and I'm gonna get a few more, and I'll stop. Baruch 4:2. Turn thee, O Jacob, take hold of it, what? The commandments, and walk in the presence thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated. Illuminated. What is illuminated? Illuminated is enlightened. We're the true light bearers. And this is the condemnation, that light is coming to the world, but men love darkness, because y'all really look at this darkness this nigga has presented you as light. It's not light. It's an illusion of light. Illuminated light, man, to light up on. So to be illuminated is not necessarily an evil thing. It's just that Esau, as he has gotten his blessing, well, he's saying, well, this is the true light. And it's pseudoscience. And it's all fulfilled in the image of the beast, was getting ready to bring that charagma. So if you following after this man, hey man, you out of there. So any questions, ask on the comment board. Hopefully I'll edify, man. Shalom.